We have the 13-year-old has eureka moment with science project that suggests Archimedes' invention was plausible. Often called the father of mathematics, Archimedes was one of the most famous inventors in ancient Greece, with some of his ideas and principles still in use today. But one fabled device has left scientists speculating on its existence for hundreds of years: the death ray. Now a middle schooler may have some answers. Brendan Senior, 13, of London, Ontario, has won 2 gold medals and a London Public Library Award for his minuscule version of the contraption, a supposed war weapon made up of a large array of mirrors designed to focus and aim sunlight on a target, such as a ship, that would cause combustion. The Greek polymath has fascinated Brendan Senior since he learned of the inventor during a family vacation to Greece. For his 2022 science project, Senior recreated the Archimedes screw, a device for raising and moving water, but he didn't stop there. That's really inspirational and also interesting that he went to Greece and had been inspired by this. And it's like from going to these places in person that people get these downloads and discoveries and inspirations and muses. And if you go into the whole magnetic aspect of that we've already talked about, I'm just, just throwing it out there that maybe that has something to do with this. That maybe he went there and learned something because other people had done that at that same place. It's just an idea. Senior found the death ray to be one of the more intriguing devices, sometimes referred to as the heat ray. Historical writings suggest that Archimedes used burning mirrors to start anchored ships on fire during the siege of Syracuse from 214 to 212 BC. Archimedes was so ahead of his time with his inventions, and it really did revolutionize technology at the time, because Archimedes was thinking about stuff that no one actually had before. The death ray is such a neat idea that no one at the time would have thought of. There is no archaeological evidence that the contraption existed, as Senior noted in his paper, but many have tried to recreate the mechanism to see if the ancient invention could be feasible. And at his comment that there's no archaeological evidence that the contraption existed, I don't know about that, because we are starting to find lenses and stuff like that, and that's highly controversial and debated. But if, hypothetically, ancient people had lenses, then it would not be out of the realm of speculation to try to form that into a weapon. So, just with that thought, but it's really hard to protect a lens for so many years. But they found an animal that's has their tendons still connected, so I'm pretty sure that there have been lenses, but I'm gonna let archaeologists work on that for a while and come to consensus. But in Senior's attempt at the death ray, he set up a heating lamp facing 4 small concave mirrors, each tilted to direct light at a piece of cardboard with an X marked at the focal point. In this project, he designed for the 2023 Matthews Hall Annual Science Award. Senior hypothesized that as mirrors focused light energy onto the cardboard, the temperature of the target would increase with the mirror added. In his experiment, Senior conducted 3 trials with 2 different light bulbs, wattages 50 to 100 watts. Each additional mirror increased the temperature notably. I wasn't exactly sure how the results would come out due to there being lots of different results with this topic, but I did expect that there would be increases in heat, but not as drastic as I found when I actually did the experiment. The temperature of the cardboard during just the heating lamp and the 100-watt light bulb and no mirrors was 81 degrees. After waiting for the cardboard to cool, Senior added one mirror and retested. the focal point's temperature increased to almost 95. So that's 14-degree difference. The greatest increase occurred with the additional fourth mirror. The temperature with 3 mirrors aimed at the target was 110 Fahrenheit, but when the fourth mirror increased the temperature by 18 degrees to 128 Fahrenheit. Writing in the paper, Senior said that he found these results to be quite remarkable, as it suggests that light is going in all directions and that the shape of the concave mirror focuses the light waves onto the single point. Praising Senior for his insights into Archimedes' death ray, Cliff Ho, a senior scientist at Sandia National Laboratory, said the project is an excellent evaluation of the fundamental processes. The facility is an engineering and science laboratory with U.S. Department of Energy's National Nuclear Security Administration in Albuquerque, New Mexico. While the experiment doesn't offer anything significantly new to scientific literature, his findings were a nice confirmation of the first law of thermodynamics, which states energy or heat can be transferred. The scientists had proposed a conference in 2014 on the death ray, concluding that the idea was possible but would have been difficult for Archimedes to pull off. Senior was not attempting to light anything on fire, as a heating lamp does not generate anywhere near enough heat as the sun would, but he believes that with the sun's rays and a large mirror, the temperature would have increased more drastically and at a faster rate, and would easily cause combustion. Every 2 years, the Olympic torch is set ablaze using a curved parabolic mirror that concentrates sunlight into one point. So all of the electrons and protons, I guess it would be protons, flying through the air, or the space, and through the air, and into that mirror, then concentrated to create the fire, to create the Olympic torch. All of that way into the lens to be concentrated into the fire. And that's what, like, the fire of the Olympics represents, is the sun's rays. Once the torch is put in that focal point, the sun's rays ignite the torch. It is not widely believed that Archimedes used a single parabolic mirror, as it cannot be aimed the same way a flat mirror can. Archimedes' death ray is more commonly speculated to have been an array of several mirrors, or polished shields. However, this theory is often discredited due to the idea that ships would have been moving during the battle. In order for the vessels to ignite from the heat generated by mirrors, they would need to be stationary and anchored near the shore. And Discovery Channel's Mythbusters, I'm sure you guys remember that, episodes in 2004, 2006, and 2010 testing out scenarios for the purported death ray, but ultimately declared the legend to be a failure when they failed to light a wooden boat on fire. In 2005, MIT, inspired by the show's first episode, was able to ignite a wooden boat once with a similar technique to sinners on a large scale, but when they attempted a second time, they failed. So it's really bizarre that it's so controversial. And then we have this 13-year-old that's like, yeah, we can do it. And it seems like he proved it. Senior said he believes that combining MIT's finding with his own, the data could suggest the death ray was plausible, and Archimedes likely could have used the sun's rays with large mirrors to cause combustion. But the technology may not work in cold temperatures or cloudy weather, and the sea's impact on the ship's motion affected the practicality of the device. And they never mentioned any lenses, but I'm going to throw it out there again, that it says that it can't work in all these different things. If you had lenses, it would be a lot easier to do in those conditions. But nobody's even contemplating that they use the lenses. Hardly at all, other than rogue archaeologists. And University of Texas at Austin, which is right down the road from me, has developed a mug-sized device that can clean water using only a small jolt of electricity. The device could be used to help get drinking water to people left stranded by extreme weather events. Dr. Dong Lee, Emma Fan, was an associate professor. So I guess she goes by Emma, Dr. Emma, an associate professor in Walker Department of Mechanical Engineering at the Cockrell School of Engineering, along with her research team, was able to create the device using a specially designed branched electrode. The electrode, when electrified, creates a field that the E. coli and other bacterial cells are attracted to, causing them to swim into the electrode branches. In lab experiments, the device successfully removed 99.997 of E. coli bacteria from the water samples in just 20 minutes. So nearly 100% in 20 minutes. And it attracts them like a moth to a light bulb. These bad bacteria bug swim toward the light, so to speak, and then get zapped. The as of yet unnamed device was referred to as a strategically designed 3D porous dendritic graphite foam in a high-frequency AC field. It's weird how much graphite is popping up in every single one of these. As well, I was thinking, not to go too far off into the sidetrack here, but with the graphite thing, Chernobyl was caused by graphite because they had graphite tips, and that accelerated the process and superconducted the process. And we're having all these people come out now, and they're discovering that graphite was a superconductor, or is a superconductor. How did we not know that from the Chernobyl explosion? Like, of course it's a superconductor. That's what caused the explosion. I don't know, but I don't know, I get that. Like, we're just now saying that graphite has all these abilities. I feel like we should have known that like 40, 50 years ago now, at least. We probably knew it further back then, but it's just weird how we're like rediscover things that we should already know. In a high-frequency AC field integrated in a 3D printed portable water purification module. In the paper on the subject, Dr. Emma Fan published in the Scientific Journal, presumably a catchier name is forthcoming. Yeah, that was a mouthful, but I mean, I guess it tells scientists what it's doing. They gotta hire a new PR person for the name. When our water infrastructure is down, no water, no gas, no electricity, we need point-of-use devices for clean water we can get outside of ponds, streams, and rivers. We believe our device can someday fill that need. The device has advantages over other portable water purification devices as it only requires a small amount of electricity. So it could be like a hand crank. This device is not the only one to come out of University of Austin, Texas recently. Another research team just announced that they had developed a device that could provide clean drinking water to places in need by pulling it out of thin air. Their devices used a molecularly engineered hydrogel to pull moisture out of the atmosphere using energy from the sun. And I know that other people are working on stuff similar to that too. We will return to a similar concept to that very soon. Here we have the rescues as we begin to round it off here. They're not too out there. Nothing too crazy this week, but we'll start off with the one this is in Ireland. No, it's in California, but it's from the Irish Star. So that's like a tabloid magazine, but I'm pretty sure this is real. They have pictures and like the fire department's talking and stuff. Don't usually try to cite tabloids, but they do have they're for entertainment, so they have entertaining stuff sometimes. But yeah, I try to go for more in-depth articles and stuff like that. But one family is counting themselves lucky in California this week after a parachute saved them from a small plane crash. Authorities said that one-engine aircraft went down in a heavily wooded and mountainous area in California, but 3 passengers were on board, including a toddler, which all survived. The incident occurred near Whale Gulch, near the Mendocino-Humboldt County line, 2 38-year-olds and a 2-year-old child were aboard a Cirrus SR-22 plane that was traveling to Santa Rosa when the aircraft lost power. The pilot tried to fix the problem, but the plane was flying too low. A built-in parachute was deployed, which slowed the descent and saved all aboard. The plane landed in the trees just 6 miles from the airport. Captain Quincy Cromer from the Mendocino County Sheriff Department. These are usually worst-case scenarios. The fact that they had only minor scratches and abrasions is a miracle. It truly is a miracle, and it's a testament to how far we've come in airline safety, that we have these parachutes and that they were barely even injured. Most people will at least, get thrown around and like break a wrist or something, or like break a rib getting rolled around inside of there. So they got really lucky that nobody broke anything. And I mean, in one of the articles we read, it was a small plane that said that it crashed vertically. It looks very similar actually, in like the way that it landed, and everybody in the front died. So that parachute system is probably what saved them. The family has the parachute to thank, according to Shelter Cove Fire Department. Despite the challenging terrain, all 3 occupants of the aircraft sustained only minor injuries thanks to the aircraft's built-in parachute system. And I think, I'm not an expert on this, but I think them deploying the parachute system does something to the insurance thing too. Like, I think they might be able to, I think they're better off with insurance using the parachute than not using the parachute. So they maybe will get a payout or a new plane or something. But the parachute system is, like it said, built into the plane. So that's, if you're thinking like personal parachutes, like they all jumped out. No, they were in the plane, and the plane itself had a giant parachute that ejected from the back of it, and slowly they were descending, and the parachute, slows that. It creates a bunch of drag, traps the air, slows them as they're falling, to where they only got minor injuries and no fatalities, which is extremely lucky. Obviously, the aircraft is destroyed, but hey, the insurance companies will deal with that. That's what they're there for. Man and dog rescued from water at the Cahill Pier in Oswego, New York. Around 7:40 p.m. on Wednesday, March 13th, a person called 911 seeing a man struggling in the water near the pier of Oswego after he went in to rescue his dog. Caller saw a man struggling in the water and lowered a piece of clothing for him to hang on to. Oswego officers worked to help get to the man, and from their location on the deck of the pier, Oswego firefighters then went into the water at 7:45. It's only 5 minutes later. Wow. They got there in 5 minutes to stabilize the man and his dog. The United States Coast Guard arrived shortly after, and the man and his dog got safely into the vessel and was taken to the local hospital for evaluation. I'm sure people will, that everybody can understand, like trying to save a pet and everything. They got super duper lucky. It is cold up there in New York, I'm sure, and it's at night, 7:45. The sun has probably gone down. Here's the thing about piers that people might not know. If you jump into the water near a pier and you think that you're gonna go up and hug the pier support beams, those things are covered in barnacles and oysters and stuff like that are razor sharp. And they have bacteria that cause, your flesh to get, sick. I'm trying to think of the necrotizing fasciitis. That's what I was trying to think of. It causes necrotizing fasciitis, which is like blackening of your skin. It just falls off and stuff. So you don't want that. You don't want to get cut up by a bunch of oysters. If you ever do get cut up by a bunch of oysters or barnacles and stuff like that, you're going to want to clean yourself really good, all the wounds. But my point is that the guy probably thought that he was going to be able to hold on to something down there, and you don't realize until you're down there that it's covered in like mini knives or tiny, very, very sharp pieces of stone like creatures that cover everything. And I've done some snorkeling and stuff, and that's how I know about that. I didn't dive into a pier and go and hug the support beams, luckily. But yeah, you don't know that until you get down there. And you think that it's all nice, and it's not nice. The pier's probably super dirty, too. So you got super lucky that somebody was there to save him and immediately call for assistance. 5 minutes is like instant. They must have had people nearby. They were probably near downtown, it sounds like. Some sort of bigger city area. I'm not familiar with New York, so I'm not sure. But 2 hikers found, this is the last one here, the rescue. 2 hikers found, rescued in steep terrain hundreds of feet from the Parowan Trail. And it's 2 hikers rescued from Utah Valentine Peak Wednesday morning after being found hundreds of feet off the trail in steep terrain. At approximately 4 p.m. on Wednesday, March 13th, Iron County Search and Rescue responded to the trail to search for the hikers, the search and rescue team said. An Iron County Sheriff deputy was reportedly at the scene first and immediately started hiking to the hikers' last known GPS location. Kudos to that sheriff deputy who just took off on his own to go and help. That takes some courage and bravery to just like be the first one in and go out. That's kudos to him to not sit and wait for the search and rescue team. So search and rescue arrived shortly after and began their ascent up the trail. Meanwhile, the deputy reportedly found the hikers. Kudos, the guy that took initiative found them. Awesome. Located approximately 400 feet off the trail in the steep terrain. They were cold, wet, and not prepared for the changing weather conditions. The deputy said he provided the female hiker with an emergency blanket and a male hiker with a coat. And before I go on reading, I'm just going to scroll through a couple pictures here super quickly. And it's the incline that they're walking up looks very steep. When I read steep, was not thinking this type of steep. This is probably 60, 70 degree incline, maybe even more. I mean, it looks like they're like walking up the side of a wall or a cliff or something. And it's very loose rocks as we're going through here. And it looks like after they found them and they're going back, and they have the lady wrapped up in the emergency blanket, like they said. And this is them walking down. So they were like up in the mountains. And there's the picture of the mountains, yeah. So they're pretty far up there. And this is like a dirty desert mountain, like Utah mountains. Just giving some clarity for people that are listening that can't see the pictures. But so the lady got an emergency blanket and the male got a coat. And the search and rescue were able to assess the situation of the locations of the hikers and the deputy and found a route off the trail with somewhat level terrain. So that must be this picture. That one, or this one right here, or this is the trail leading out that they probably found. And I bet the hikers felt kind of I don't even know how I would be feeling. I guess they felt happy seeing the route down. I would feel kind of dumb. Yeah, I'm just gonna say it. Kind of dumb having to be rescued, but I'm sure they're very, very happy. And they got to the hikers, provided them with dry clothing, hand and feet warmers, and gloves, and the female's hiker's socks were drenched and her feet were painfully cold. The search and rescue team removed the woman's socks and shoes, gave them foot warmers and dry socks, and wrapped her feet in plastic to ensure they remained dry during the descent, and they all arrived safely. We want to remind everyone of the importance to have proper gear if you plan to recreate, especially this time of year. The valley temperatures may be mild, but when you get into the higher elevations, the weather can drastically change. Thankfully, the hikers called us sooner rather than later so we could get them warmed up and back down before it got darker and much colder. Yeah, because the sun is setting as they're leaving. The sun is beginning to set. So that would have been a long night for them. Super cold and wet. And you got to have the right shoes if you're going to go out hiking. I mean, it's one thing if you're just like walking around, but you got to have the right shoes. Shoes are extremely important. Ask any of the like Survivor or Naked and Afraid contestants on TV and stuff like that. The not having shoes is the worst part of it. So that was everything this week. We definitely have a lot more stuff coming up. I actually couldn't fit hardly. I mean, there was so much stuff this week, and every week there's so much stuff. It's hard to pick what goes in here, and I try to make it short, and it ends up being long. And I'm only like picking like little bits of it. There's so much out there, and I want people to kind of leave with that thought in their mind that there's so much good news out there and inspirational content and discoveries that I don't even have time to fit it all in here. There's too much good stuff going on for me to be able to put it all in here, and I have to like pick and choose what it is. And yeah, all I have to say is that I'm gonna be doing some Patreon stuff soon, and I put it extremely low, bottom of the barrel type of thing, $1 a month to just help me with the data expenses. And what I'm asking for the dollar is I'm going to be returning something in exchange, and that's going to be interactive live stream experiments with the audience. We can do anything really, I mean, within reason, but I'm also going to be talking about some paranormal stuff, some more specifics on UFO consciousness, mainly more just like paranormal or not as inspirational, or more specifically UFO stuff. Like I'll also do that stuff on here, but you guys will see. If you're interested in like strictly paranormal UFO type of stuff, it might be worth the dollar to check out, especially because it's going to be interactive. So it's like a choose your own adventure type of thing that you can participate or choose what questions want to be asked or where we go with the experiment, that sort of stuff, or what equipment we're using. And by experiment, I mean like a paranormal type investigation experiments, different locations, different techniques, different devices where you guys can lead the way. Just, I guess, to throw out one idea is I've tried to contact Art Bell before with some other fans with a live stream, and that did have some success. So there's precedent, and we did have success in the past. But what I would also like to look into, and I'll live stream it for everybody so that other people can look into it as well, is similarly to the skull experiments in the UK, which I don't know if that was like real or not or whatever. I wasn't there. That's its own controversy. I'm just using it as an example that they used devices to try to contact dead inventors and famous people. So maybe we could find some people in the past that might have some answers on magnetism or consciousness and stuff like that, and try to explore asking the dead or ET or these other dimensions on advanced technologies or philosophy or consciousness or whatever you guys want to ask. And it's not all going to be the same thing. I'm also going to be doing the live streams as well as kind of like these sorts of videos or podcasts of presenting information to people for them to listen and refining ideas, that sort of stuff. So if you're interested, Patreon Inspired Earth, check it out. Another one of our goals that I've mentioned is getting a green screen, which is extremely cheap. So that's not a big goal. But yeah, the dollar for the Patreon is just for data usage. Data's not free, so I have to pay for that, and I take a lot of time out of my week to make these. So if you enjoy them, I would appreciate the dollar, and you'll get something back too, and it's interactive. So if you guys have any comments or questions or articles or anything like that, you can email me, inspiredearthpodcast@gmail.com. And until next week, I will talk to you again. Be looking forward to next week because I have like a special. I think it's time to talk about some space stuff again. There's been a lot of space stuff in the news, hasn't there? So it's probably about time for us to address that sort of stuff again, like we did with the weaponized or the other UFO topics. And this being an example right before I go, we will be continuing to talk about UFOs on Inspired Earth, but on a more surface level type of thing. So if you want to get deeper and get in on the experiments and learn even more, it's only $1. So check it out and be safe out there, guys.